Whether it's a mysterious mansion full of curiosities or a dangerous, snow-covered planet, you might have a clear location in your mind of where your story will be. But without a story, your location is just that, a location. So, how can your killer location set the stage for your killer story? Well, in this lesson, we're covering how to connect a location to the 3 core elements to build an unforgettable story. Let's start with how we define a location. A location is the environment some or all of your story will take place in. This could be as simple as a house and as complex as a high fantasy multiverse. There's no limit to your imagination here, and usually the more interesting your location, the more interesting your story. But don't confuse a location with an event, which we covered in a previous lesson. Where an event has some kind of purpose, a location is just an environment. So how can we take that incredible world from your brain and mold it into a story? First, we should decide how long we want to spend in the location. And a great place to start is to ask if the story should start there. If you start in a location, it will probably be the ordinary world. That means when we enter the new situation, it will either need to be a different location, a sub-location inside the original, or the same location with some other external change. In this case, you can ask 2 great questions to reach our 3 core elements. 1, what kind of journey could fix or enhance this location? And 2, what kind of threat might this location face? The first will give you a goal, and the second will give you an and tag. As an example, we could imagine a magical hotel as our location. If we ask what kind of journey could fix or enhance this location, we might imagine there is something wrong with the hotel, and a new concierge is tasked with traveling through it to discover the source of the problems. This would give us a clear goal. Alternatively, we might imagine a magical city official is planning to magically close a hotel for failure to pay their magical bills. This gives us a good idea of what the and tag would be and also implies a goal. Most times, though, our location will be the new situation. This means your protag will start somewhere else and travel to this location during the outer gateway. If this is the case, it's best to ask the question, what could be accomplished by visiting this location? In our earlier example, perhaps a traveler is searching for a lost artifact, which they believe to be inside the magical hotel. This would not only give the protag a good reason to visit the location, but would also connect you to the goal. Finally, you may also imagine the location as only lasting a small part of your story. In this case, one tip we can give is to imagine what kind of event may be held at this location. That way, you can use it as your midpoint or story climax, as mentioned in the lesson on starting with an event. Otherwise, you'll probably want to keep the location contained to one section of your story, whether the protag visits it for the midpoint, or is sent there in rock bottom, or trains there during the testing phase. In these cases, ask what may be in those locations and how those things could lead toward a goal. One last tip, world building is fun. There's no denying that. However, too much world building can lose you your audience. So here's our suggestion. World build throughout your story and not all at the beginning. Don't introduce terms early on unless they are relevant. And if this world is the new situation, use a newcomer to help explain it, which we covered in the extended lesson on the testing phase. You should now have some ideas of how to connect your location to the 3 core elements and build out a captivating story. And in the next lesson, we'll finish off by starting from the hardest place of all, only a title.